Finally, the last part of this video, part 3, we're going to be taking apart all the controllers, cleaning them up, and getting them ready for selling. All these controllers have tri-wings that keep them closed. Nintendo really likes their tri-wing screws, so of course make sure you need a tri-wing for everything you take apart. So I was never a huge Nintendo fan. I did like Nintendo, but I grew up with the Sega Genesis, and I really didn't have a Nintendo to the Nintendo 64. And after that, I went to PlayStation, and then I stayed with PlayStation till Xbox 360. And I played some Wii games. I always wanted to play like the Mario Galaxy, and Zelda and all that stuff, because I'm a big fan of Zelda. But I did not like the motion controls, so I never really wanted to pick up a Wii. But interesting fact is the way I got my first Wii was by a show called G4. They used to have a show on TV, and I think they have it again on the YouTube channel. But they had a episode on G4 where it was free stuff, so you'd watch and they'd give you these codes, or they'd give you a chance to log in and like put in an entry. You know, I'd get in on the entry as quick as I could, you know, because I figured the first person who gets in gets the item. Well, I was actually the main winner on one of those, and what they're giving away was a Nintendo Wii. So I was able to receive a free Nintendo Wii. Now, of course, it was refurbished, but I was still pretty happy. I mean, I didn't have to spend money on it. I was able to play Mario Galaxy and Wind Waker, which I'm not the biggest fan of Wind Waker, but I was able to play a few of the games that I've been kind of wanting to play on the Wii, but never did, because I just didn't want to spend my money on something that I just didn't enjoy the controls. But that's my first experience with the Wii, and my girlfriend at the time, which is now my wife, had one, and we'd play games together. We play Smash Brothers, and they've got some great games on it. It's just I could never get around the idea of just using a motion control, because it just, so many games used it as a gimmick, and it just didn't feel good to play. I don't mind a few motion controls in a game, like just slight adjustments, like the PlayStation. They have the 6-axis where you can rotate the controller for stuff, and I don't mind that stuff. It's very subtle. It doesn't really bother me as much. But when games are dedicated to it, it gets a little too much and a lot less enjoyable. And I think that's the thing about Nintendo, is they always have some type of gimmick, and the gimmick is either works really good or it doesn't, and for this case it just didn't do it for me. I'm curious to hear from everybody what their experience was with the Wii. I worked at Best Buy when these things came out, and people went crazy over them. We were always out of stock. People are always asking about them, and for something that I wasn't too interested, I was pretty surprised like how it latched on. I mean, very family-friendly consoles. I mean, you could find these everywhere. I mean, I've bought plenty of Wiis, and they all seem to work. I mean, I've hardly encountered any with any issues other than the disk drive. And it's just something, it's a sturdy console. It's very dependable. Controllers are pretty good too. I haven't really had any issues with controllers. But I also haven't use them a whole lot myself personally. I haven't taken these controllers out very much. Like I said, I don't mess with the Wii too much, but I've seen these picked up, and I've bought a few Wii's, but I just don't. Not really my wheelhouse, but I do like to collect consoles. And this is one that I have. I have the red edition, the Mario one that I was able to find, and I like it. I don't play it a whole lot. Most of the Wii titles that I play through the Wii U. So enough of me rambling on. I'll probably go ahead and fast forward through the rest of this, and then we'll get to the analog controllers.
Now going to take these apart, I've taken one of these apart before. It's been a long time, and when I was trying to pull it back apart, I noticed I was kind of having some trouble on the top of the controller, and it's held in by plastic clips, and I was kind of concerned about shoving a tool in the seam and like dinging the plastic because I really wanted to keep these as good as possible. And I think that is a mistake that I made, was I wasn't being forceful enough trying to pop those clips out, that when I did pull two of the Joy-Cons apart, that the tiny little clips broke, and you'll see that later in the video. But that just kind of happens, especially when you're not used to taking things apart, or you don't do it as much, is you kind of forget how things go and how things are built and where things get put back together. But I kind of wanted to make these videos just so you can kind of see the whole process of kind of what we go through. And I cut some of the clips short of me kind of just looking around things and trying to see where things go, because there wasn't a whole lot going on there other than me just kind of staring at it and trying to figure out where certain pieces go. But if you like videos like these, if you want them shorter, if this is too long form, or less talking, more talking, or what you guys kind of like to see in these videos, everybody makes these short clips and these short 10-minute videos, and you get the nice close-up, nice editing. But I kind of wanted to record this raw and just kind of see what people think of it about it. So let me know what you think.
This is the one with all the tape on it, so I'm not too sure what's going on with this one, but this one's probably the worst one of the bunch, so we'll take this one apart and see what we find. Okay, so here I got 3 of them taken apart now. And kind of the first thing I noticed, which was these two, the first and the third one that I took apart, they're put together the same, but this one over here, and from the outside it looked like an official Nintendo one, and it still might be, but this one you can tell just the manner of wires they use is completely different. And same with this joystick. It's completely metal on the inside. These are plastic, and it just seems a little more fluid the way it moves. This one's a little tighter, but it looks like a metal mechanism, which I would think would get less wear on it. And then kind of looking at the ends here is, I just want to verify, this is a Nintendo. Then you can't really see it on camera, but this also says Nintendo right here. And so does this one. So all 3 of these are Nintendo branded. But this one is, I don't know if this is an earlier one or a later one. But yeah, this one is built completely different. And you can even see on the chips here. And I don't know what these do. But yeah, it's got an extra chip here. And just a completely different board. But I just thought that was interesting. Alright, on to the third party one. And this third party one actually has the same metal mechanism that the other Nintendo branded ones. This one is soldered on to the battery terminals here and here. And I'm probably not going to take the time to desolder this just to clean this. I'll just clean this just carefully on the side. But I'm not too concerned about the third-party controllers. I'm not going to go to too huge of an effort to take it apart and put it together, because nobody really is excited about getting a third-party controller. But I will clean these pads up and these are the first time I've actually ever held one of these Wii Motion Plus controllers or adapters. I thought there was 3 of them, 2 Nintendo branded one and 1 third-party one, but towards the end of the video, or actually testing out the controllers, I realized that third one is not a Wii Motion Plus controller, but the wireless transmitter used for the nunchuck. Alright, now that we got the controllers taken apart and cleaned, we're going to get them all back together. After I finished recording this, I tested all the controllers and I was having an issue with the Joy-Con with the yellow nub. And it was still sticking like when I first originally got it. And after playing with it, I realized the actual joystick was rubbing against the case, which it just wasn't a good fit. The other two nunchucks, I should say, I keep saying Joy-Cons. The other two nunchucks, you could actually see a slight gap around the perimeter, giving it space to move around freely, but the yellow one would not do that. So I ended up swapping cases back and forth just to make sure the right cases, the original cases, went with the original ones in case I got those swapped. And nothing seemed to keep that joystick from sticking. I don't know how that controller came, or if somebody added something to it or modified it, but it just didn't feel right, and I didn't want to. Normally, I just keep the board or the internals to use on something in the future, but since that had the metal housing, I decided just to toss the whole thing. And the plastic material also felt a little different than the other two, so I was kind of leery of thinking it was an actual official Nintendo Joy-Con or nunchuck, and more of a ripoff. So out of this whole thing, everything worked. Even the Joy-Con that I got rid of worked. It's just it wouldn't be. It wasn't at a good enough quality for me to want to sell to someone or even give to someone, because it's just going to disappoint anybody who uses it. Okay, so here's what's going on. If you guys haven't noticed, when I took these apart, these controllers right here, they have these clips, and taking them off, on this one of the clips on this side had broke off, which is why this top end, when I snapped it together, wasn't creating a good tight connection. And that's kind of the problem with not having screws up here, is when a clip breaks, it's just loose. So I unfortunately cannot fix it, as I don't have that small piece in it. Even if I did, it wouldn't be strong enough to glue in there. So what my plan is to do is put this all together. I'm going to put a dab of super glue just on this and keep this pinched closed, and then hopefully that'll keep it together. Unfortunately, there's kind of no way to go back. I was trying to be safe and not damage the plastic when opening these up, so I ended up just pulling this apart like this, and they're just such small clips that it's really hard to avoid. And anything you take apart with like plastic clips, you're always it's always a possibility to break them. So that's probably my only solution I can do for this right now. So let's go ahead and continue the video.